الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We begin, inshallah, our 7th session today, inshallah, studying Al-Aajuroomiyah, and we are today in the section of I'rab, Bab al-I'rab. We started discussing this in the previous session, and I did say that Bab al-I'rab is the most important Bab section, chapter of Al-Aajuroomiyah. So much so that Al-I'rab is seen to be an alternative word for saying Nahu. Right? So this could be the field, the دراسة الإعراب أو دراسة النحو. علم الإعراب and علم النحو, they are synonymous with one another. Al-I'rab, this is the statement of Ibn Aajuroom, which we covered previously, but we will go through it again. Ibn Aajuroom said, Al-I'rabu huwa. Al-I'rab, and we will come to the linguistic meaning of it, which basically means to bring something out and make it apparent and clear. But from a Nahu point of view, from a technical point of view, in the field of Nahu, he says, Al-I'rabu huwa, first word, تغيير. تغيير is a change in something. Based on rules, you decide to change the end of one word. تغيير أواخر الكلم, the change of the end of words. The end of words within a sentence, the deliberate change, which is based on rulings and principles that govern this change. This change has to be لاختلاف العوامل الداخلة عليها, due to the change of influences. عوامل, the plural of عامل, which means an influencer, an impactor, if you like, a factor that enters upon it. الداخلة, العوامل الداخلة عليها, the عوامل that enters upon it. Right? So entering upon it, we say that it's important for you to realize that this means comes before it. And we gave examples in the previous class of changes that may occur to a word, but due to changes that come in front of it as opposed to before it. Where's the example? This example here. We had this example. We have this example, كتب, the word كتب. Okay. يرد بكرة. طيب. You can see with these three words, can you see them? كتب, 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 the same verb, huh? But can you see how it changed? In one instant, it had فتحة, right? And in the following sentence, it has sukun. And in the third one, it has dhamma. But this change is not due to something that came before it. It's due to something that came after it. So this, to us, is not i'rab. This change that occurs to a word or to the end of word due to something that comes after it, we will study it, but that's not what i'rab is. I'rab is for the end of one word to be influenced by something that enters before it. Obviously, these examples, we have not yet covered them, so we will get to that point and we will know why they changed like this. But going to the let's change this. Going to the book again. So تغيير أواخر الكلم, the change of end of words, لاختلاف العوامل الداخلة عليها, due to the changing of عوامل, the plural of عامل, that comes before it. And we covered this example. What's the template that we study? The template that we keep throwing words inside of it to see how they act. The three sentences. Who memorized them? Ja'a, and then you put a word there, whatever it may be, and then you put ra'aytu, and then you put the same word again, and then you put sallamtu ala, and then you put the same word and see how they react. Each one of these are different awamil. They will impact that word in a different way, and you would want to see how does it respond. Does it respond at all? Does it change? And if it changes, how does it change? And we said the change that occurs there, it depends on what type of word we're dealing with, right? And if you, I'll remind you of the example we had here. We spoke about, yes. So we had this word, for example, al-fata. Do you remember? It was, prior to this, it was, so this is what we have in front of us. Ja al-fata, what does it mean? It translates to the boy came. Ra'aytu al-fata, it also means the boy, I saw the boy. Sallamtu ala al-fata, I greeted the boy. I greeted the boy, right? The same sentence we studied before with regards to the example of Muhammad, صح? We had جاء رأيت وسلمت على محمد. So we highlighted here as well. You can see what's going on, yeah. So the same, that's the template. رأيت, جاء, رأيت, وسلمت على. So what you put in front of it is the word you want to examine. You want to see what's going on. Right? You want to decide first two things. The first one is does it respond or does it not respond? So there's a amil, there's something, there's an influencer before it, right? That should influence it in a particular way. It has a certain influence, a certain power, force on it. But does it respond or is it fixed? Right? If it does respond, the second question will be, what sort of response? How does it respond? This is what we will study in now. Right? So for example, Muhammadun, influenced by Ja'a, had Dhamma at the end of it here. And Muhammadun, influenced by Ra'aytu, which means I saw, was had the Fatha at the end of it. Because here it's acting like the object, مفعول به. Sallamtu ala, or ala in particular, ala harfu jar. It influenced Muhammad to have kasra at the end of it. This much is clear? So you can see Muhammad is very responsive, mashallah. Very responsive. It's a word, the type of words that is mutamakkina, meaning that is fully functional, fully responsive. Right? Now we have this word here. It's also responsive. It's also responsive, but the effect of ja'a on the word al-fata is not seen, is not heard. Why? Because having a haraka, because the end letter of this word is alif, which is a vowel, and having a haraka on top of the alif, the vowel, is not possible. But because essentially the vowel is a haraka in itself, so you cannot put haraka on top of haraka. Is this idea making sense? Right? So because of the impossibility of putting a haraka or pronouncing a haraka on the alif, then we are going to assume that there is a haraka there that is not audible, not possible to sound. Okay? And this notion of assuming there's a haraka there is called at-taqdir. We assume, we estimate that there is a haraka there that is not audible, that is not possible to sound. Here, رأيت would have the influence of nasb, or having fatha at the end of this word. Is there fatha there? The answer will be yes, there is a fatha, but it's not pronounceable. It's not possible to pronounce because alif will not take even fatha, will not take any vowel at all, will not take any haraka. Same here, سلمت على الفتى. الفتى. So now we have actually changed the end of this word, al-fata. In the first instant, we changed it into, the end of it, we changed it into dhamma. In the first instance, we changed it into a dhamma, but it is something that is not audible, not pronounced. So it's estimated. Also here, did we change it here? It did change, but it is not audible. There's a fatha at the end of it. It's not sounding. We can't sound it. سلمت على الفتى. This would have kasra at the end of it, jar. Yes, but where is the fatha? Where is the kasra? It's not pronounceable. It's not possible to pronounce. So this notion of assuming something to be there, but it's not there, what's it called? What's the technical word for it? At-taqdir, which means understanding it's there, even though it's not sounded. This is a very important concept. Obviously, this is just I'm giving you the basic concept. We're going to go through it properly. Whereas Muhammad here, Muhammad, because it's a different type, Muhammad is a different category of word to al-fata.
So is that the top one? Is that the implicit inflection?
Yes. Yeah,
I was
taqdir.
reading out a little bit confused. I thought this makes it 100% clear.
There you go. There you go. So it's implicit, it's understood, it's implicit.
Yeah.
So the inflection that is done on al-fata and in these three sentences is there, is understood, is estimated. مقدر. إعراب تقديري. The technical word for that is إعراب تقديري. Here, إعراب, the إعراب of Muhammad, meaning the change. Remember, إعراب is changing. The change that occurred to the word Muhammad at the end of it, is it explicit or implicit? It's sounded. It's dun. So there's dhamma there. So this is إعراب لفظي. لفظي. Something that sounds. Is this point clear? I'm only giving you these basic examples just for you to go to understand the definition. So here the definition is الإعراب هو تغيير, changing of أواخر الكلم, the end of words, لاختلاف العوامل, due to the change of what عوامل? لاختلاف العوامل, due to the change of influences. How do what? Grammatical. Yeah, they call here grammatical governance. So basically the words that come before it and influence them to have a certain إعراب. لاختلاف العوامل الداخلة عليه. And then he says داخل عليها. And then says لفظا. لفظا here, as you will see later inshallah, is describing the تغيير. تغيير لفظا. تغيير لفظا. يعني اسم مفعول مطلق يقول لنا that لين إن شاء الله, which basically it specifies the type of تغيير. Type of تغيير either in an audible way or in an estimated way. تقديرا. These two ideas are clear? Salman? Clear? طيب. So in English he said inflection is the changing of vowel markings. طيب. The vowel markings at the end of words according to a variance in grammatical governance. So what does he mean by grammatical governance here? The awamil. The awamil. So we're going to call them awamil because awamil is very technical word. Awamil, singular of it is amil. And what is the word for the one being affected by the amil? Ma'mul. Ma'mul. The one receiving the effect and the impact, where they are explicit or implicitly inferred. Where they are explicit changes. Here, I would change the word in here into where the change, right? No, they are, where the change is either explicit or implicit. Okay? So they are not, we're not talking about the awamil, rather we're talking about the change. Okay? Because he said inflection is the change. So this change is either explicit or implicit. Just to add clarity, because otherwise, wording it like this, I think it would introduce confusion. But if you understand it, then keep it the way it is. So now, وأقول, this is Muhammad Muhyiddin Abdul Hamid. He says, وأقول, sorry, I'm going too fast. طيب. وأقول, so now this is now the sharh of the commentator, the explanation of the commentator. See, the line is just one line. What we have in this section is just one line, but the sharh is going to be the expansion on this. وأقول, I say, and I say, الإعراب له معنيان. إعراب, as usual, has the word إعراب. The word إعراب has two meanings. أحدهما لغوي, the first of them is linguistic meaning. والآخر اصطلاحي. طيب. أما معناه في اللغة, as for its meaning in the language. As for its meaning in the language. فهو الإظهار والإبانة. Is simply making something clear and apparent. طيب. الإظهار والإبانة. To make something clear and apparent. That's what it means in the linguistic sense. In the Arabic language. Before it was employed by the scholars of Nahu for a specific use. تقول أعربت عما في نفسي. طيب. تقول أعربت عما في نفسي. You'd say, he's saying here, you'd say, أعربت عما في نفسي, meaning I have made clear that which is within my chest, which is within my soul. أعربت. طيب. I've made it clear. I've spoken out. Whatever is within me, I have made it clear. So, and he used the word أعربت. أعربت. Coming from the word أعرب يعرب إعرابا. قال إذا أبنته وأظهرته. إذا أبنته, when I make it clear, when I spell it out. When you speak what's in your chest, you can say أعربت عما في نفسي. Now this is what? This is only from a linguistic sense. Now from a technical sense, أما معناه في الاصطلاح, he says فهو ما ذكره المؤلف بقوله تغيير أواخر الكلام. It is what was mentioned by Ibn Ajuroom. He agrees with him that this is the definition of i'rab. So Ibn Ajuroom did not bring you the linguistic sense of the word, but only the technical one. Now he's going to take these phrases one at a time, and he will break them down. So what he says here is not going to be new to you. I've already broke it down to you, but it's good to go through them. والمقصود من تغيير أواخر الكلم. What is meant by changing the end of word? تغيير أحوال أواخر الكلم. So he added the word أحوال. تغيير أحوال. طيب. Who can tell us the difference between changing أواخر الكلم and changing أحوال أواخر الكلم? Yeah. Yes, the state of it. And this highlighted word in the definition, تغيير أواخر الكلم, it may suggest that we are changing the actual letter itself. Right? But we're not changing the actual letter, we're changing the state of it. From, does it have fatha, does it have kasra? So he says, المقصود, what is meant, yeah, المقصود, what is meant from or by this statement, تغيير أواخر الكلم, the end of words, we're not changing the letters themselves, but we are changing the state of them. or the state of the word. طيب. تغيير أواخر الكلم. And we mentioned previously that in Nahu we are concerned with the last letter in the word. طيب. In Sarf we study the rest of the word, the middle, the beginning and the middle, the letters, what they are made of, what harakat they have, all of that will be studied in Sarf. طيب. But in Nahu we are only concerned with the last letter. ولا يعقل أن يراد التغيير أن يراد it is not fathomable, it is not possible. ولا يعقل أن يراد تغيير نفس الأواخر, the very word themselves. That's not what's intended here. But you see, due to the matan is intended to be as brief as possible, that concisement of the wordings leaves room for misinterpretation. That's where the sharh comes in and clarifies things. طيب. He says فإن آخر الكلمة نفسه لا يتغير. فإن آخر, the actual letter which is at the end of the word doesn't change. وتغيير أو أحوال أواخر الكلمة, and the change of the state of the end of word عبارة عن. I told you how best to translate this word. عبارة عن. عبارة عن is basically, just say is basically. So وتغيير, so the change of states of the end of words is basically تحولها من الرفع إلى النصب أو الجر. Changing the state of it from رفع to نصب or jar, or from one state to another. So now we're speaking about the states of i'rab. The states of i'rab. So we have i'rab, which is changing the end of, or changing the state of the end of words. So what are the possible states for the word, for a word? The possible states are 4. He mentioned 3 here, probably as by means of example. Right? From rafa' to nasb to jar to jazm. You change them. So jazm, there are 4 states of i'rab. Right? So depending what amil enters upon the word, you will end up saying that this word is either in a state of rafa'. If it's in a state of rafa', you will call it marfu', or in a state of nasb, in which case you will say mansub, or in a state of jar, in which case you will say majroor. So that word will become in a state of jar, and therefore you will call it majroor. You'll get used to this, inshallah. Right? Or it can be in a state of jazm, in which case you will say majzoom. Right? Majzoom. So now he added something quite important and quite very important to the definition. In the definition, we just said it's changing the state of the end of words, right? Without specifying what these possible states are. So now what we covered, the possible states are 4. What are they? Anyone remembers? الرفع والنصب والجر والجزم. Let me write them for you. So we say 4 possible states. Number 1, الرفع. I will give it the full name. حالة الرفع. Yeah. So this, I will give you the English in a minute. And then we have حالة النصب. And then we have حالة الجر. And then we have the final one. Fourth one, حالة الجزم. Now, these are the four possible states of any word that is responsive. Any word that is responsive would respond to the influencer, the عامل, by being in a state of رفع or نصب or جر or جزم. طيب. If it's in a state of رفع, طيب, it will be called what? مرفوع. 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 طيب. If it's in a state of نصب, it will be called منصوب. منصوب. If it's in a state of جر, it will be called مجرور. If it's in a state of جزم, it will be called مجزوم. Does this make sense? Okay. So what did we say? We say words in sentences are of two major categories. Right? We can look at them as being split into two major categories. For now, we gave them the English words responsive and non-responsive. Right? The one that does not respond at all. Later on, we will know that the proper name for this is معرب ومبني. معرب, one that responds, a word that responds to changes. طيب. And مبني is a word that doesn't change. We'll come to this in full details. So we will look into this. We ask ourselves, is it a type of word that changes and responds to influences for the عوامل? If the answer is yes, then it will definitely have one of these possible four states. Either the state of رفع, the عامل will influence it to be in a state of رفع, or the عامل will influence it to be in a state of نصب, or the عامل will influence it to be in a state of جر, or the عامل will influence it to be in a state of جزم. جزم. If it's in the state of رفع, we will give it the technical word مرفوع. مرفوع is one word to say that this is a word that is in a state of رفع. One word to express this, مرفوع. منصوب is to say this is a word that is in a state of نصب. مجرور, one word that to say this is a word that is in a state of جر. مجزوم is to say that this is a word that is in a state of جزم. Is that clear so far? طيب. So this is the four possible states for words that are responsive. This is for اسم and فعل. اسم So this is This is a state that is shared between اسم الاسم والمضارع. مضارع. You're familiar with مضارع. So فعل مضارع is responsive. طيب. اسم is predominantly responsive. There are certain isms, certain words that are ism that are not responsive. We will cover them. مضارع is predominantly responsive, and we'll come to that inshallah in detail. But for now, I just wanted to know this much, that the state of رفع is a state that is shared between what? Shared between اسم and فعل مضارع. Okay? Do I need to make it call it فعل مضارع? Or you can tell that this is فعل مضارع. So the state of رفع and the state of نصب are shared between اسم and فعل مضارع. Whereas this one here, this is only for اسم, and this is only for فعل مضارع. This is as much as you need to know for now. Now, this much, is it clear for you? Right? So let me say it one more time. When you look at words within a sentence, they will have to be one of two possible categories so far as i'rab is concerned. Who can remind us what they are? لا. So far as i'rab is concerned, when you look at a sentence, right, every word within that sentence can be one of two possible types. What are they? Responsive or non responsive. Right? And I already gave you the technical Arabic word for that is معرب or مبني. مبني means fixed, not responsive. No matter what comes before it, it will not change. طيب, معرب on the other hand is responsive. It responds to عوامل. Okay? But when it responds to, when it becomes معرب, when we determine that it's a معرب word, this means it has to have a state of إعراب. A state of إعراب. حالة الإعراب. حالة الإعراب is one of four. These are the four possible states of إعراب. So you will never find a responsive word within a sentence in the Arabic language that will have anything other than these four possible states of إعراب. حالة الرفع, حالة النصب, حالة الجر, وحالة الجزم. حالة الرفع, in which case that word will be called مرفوع. حالة النصب, in which case that word will be called منصوب. حالة الجر, in which case that word will be called مجزوم. حالة الجزم, in which case that word will be مجزوم in the case of حالة الجزم. The first two are available states for اسم and فعل مضارع. اسم and فعل مضارع. Whereas the second one is also the first and the second, الرفع and النصب, are available to اسم and فعل مضارع, both of them, right? And then you have this one here is unique to اسم. So let me make this easy. I'll color this one red, and then this one blue. These colors are for free, so we might as well make use of. Is that making sense? So now I'm going to check your understanding. If you see a فعل مضارع in a sentence, فعل مضارع, what are the possible states of إعراب for it? فعل مضارع. Either state of رفع, in which case it will be called مرفوع, or نصب, in which case it will be منصوب. What's the third state? جزم, in which case it will be called مجزوم. These are the available states for فعل مضارع. What are the available states for اسم? If it's a responsive one, yeah, it will be either رفع, نصب, and جر. رفع أو نصب أو جر. This is how you should look at them. These are the states of إعراب. If I was to give them an Arabic word there, حالات الإعراب. حالات الإعراب. These are the 4 states of إعراب. So now, basically, what is إعراب? إعراب, listen to this, my brothers. إعراب, you determining, if you are the speaker, what state of إعراب should you give to each word as we speak? As you speak, you determine which state of إعراب are you going to give it. First of all, you will have to decide, is this اسم or فعل? فعل مضارع. If it's اسم, you say, okay, the rule is it can only have رفع, نصب, or jar. If it's فعل مضارع, فعل مضارع, it will either be what? رفع or نصب or جزم. So all this, you're working all this in your head. And then to determine which of the 3 possible states you're going to give it, you look at what? To determine what state of إعراب will you give it. The عامل. The word can be, you look at the عامل. So if the عامل causes it to become منصوب, you make it منصوب. If the عامل causes it to become مرفوع, you make it مرفوع. If the عامل causes it to become مجرور, and so on and so forth. Okay? So for example, if I go to our example, this example here, what is it? This example. So now, Muhammad here is in a state of رفع. So Muhammad here is مرفوع. Muhammad is مرفوع. Muhammad here is منصوب. And Muhammad here is مجرور. Okay? What caused the رفع for this word? جاء. جاء here, we can call it عامل الرفع. What is the عامل cause of it? And then in our analysis, we will have to recognize the state of إعراب, and we have to recognize the cause, the عامل for that إعراب, and then how this word is representing that state of إعراب. Is that clear? So while we are here, so now we are going into the grammatical analysis. So when you grammatically analyze sentences, mashallah, I'm surprised how soon and how much we are progressing in a very short state of time. So إعراب, if I said to do إعراب for Muhammad here and here and here, and basically you can do إعراب for each one. جاء, we'll do إعراب for it. Muhammad, إعراب for it. رأيت, إعراب for it, and so on and so forth. So now, listen to this, my brothers. إعراب, if you are the one speaking, as you speak, you'll be working all this out in your head, and then coming to the conclusion of what am I going to do with the end of this word, or each word in my sentence. Okay? So basically, you will decide for every word, is it mu'rab or mabni? Is it responsive or non-responsive? If it's non-responsive, if it's responsive, which of the 3 possible states I will give it? Is it ism first? If it's ism, I'm going to give it one of 3 possible states. If it's fi'l, I'm I'm going to give it one of three possible states as well, right? So you do all this working out, and then once you've decided, then you open your mouth and speak. Right? And then you'll be thinking that this is too much. I'm going to work all this out in my head before I speak? The answer is yes. Eventually, your brain will do this thing in a split second. And eventually, you will do it unconsciously without realizing that you're doing it. It will become natural. But until it becomes natural, you have to go through the baby steps. You work it out in your head. You know, like if you write the word book, right? And if you want to read this word, how would you read it? First of all, you have to look at it and recognize that I have a B there, I have an O, I have an O, I have a K. So if you fail to recognize what they are, you won't be able to read it. And then you will want to see how many syllables the phonics. Right? There's a B there, and there's a double O. This is one sound. This is another sound, and this is a third sound. And then you put the three sounds together, B and the U, then book. Right? So do you now work this out in your head like this? You don't. Why? This is how you learn the language. At first, you analyze, you work things out, and you train yourself like this a lot. Right? Once you have trained yourself enough, then you will pick up the language and you will become fluent at it, such that your brain will just work it out automatically. So the people who speak Arabic now, anyone who mastered Arabic, do you think they actually work things out like this? So for the word like Ja'a Muhammadun, do you think they will be thinking in their head, Ja'a is this, Muhammadun is that? They will say Ja'a Muhammadun. And you know, if they try to say Ja'a Muhammadan, their brain will not accept it. Their brain will not accept it. The brain will just say there's something wrong here. And even for you as well. So now this is you talking about yourself. The same thing with other people when they speak. You hear what they do with the harakat, and then through that, you determine their meanings. What do they mean to say to you? So what we're going to do when it comes to grammatical analysis, we are going to take a sentence like this and take it one word at a time. Okay? Remember we said, Ja'a, we're going to take Ja'a. So for example, we're working on this one. Right? We're going to take the first word, which is Ja'a, right? And do the grammatical analysis for it. Right? And then we have Muhammadun. And we're going to do grammatical analysis for it. We're going to see a few things. Huh? And then we have Tanween. Huh? Tanween is there, Muhammadun. So that's a word. We have to say something about it. Right? So we have three things to comment about. So this is something minor, which can be seen as part of Muhammad because it's attached to it. But these are the two main things. What is the grammatical analysis for this? Right? Now, let me tell you what you do with grammatical analysis. So grammatical analysis could be two things. The final way in which you're going to say words, that's i'rab. You've already determined the ruling and how you should pronounce it. Right? And also, you could look at somebody else's speech and do grammatical analysis. You analyze what they say, and then from there, you try to understand what they mean. Right? So in your determination, what have they said? Look, I'm gonna cancel these two. This is what you should include in your Arab. Step number one, you need to find out responsive, or not. That's what you need to figure out first and foremost. Right? And this is in Arabic. What's this in Arabic? مبني معرب أو مبني. So this would be no. Oh. So every word has to be one of two things, huh? Either معرب or مبني. معرب أو مبني. Once you've decided that, you need to decide, obviously, if it's mu'arab, you're going to go, if it's mu'arab, if responsive, you will have to mention what state. Yeah, what state of Arab, right? And the four possible states, you know them now. What are they? الرفع والنصب والجر if it's اسم. الرفع والنصب والجزم if it's فعل مضارع, right? So that's the second thing you have to consider. The third thing you have to consider is, okay, we've established that it is in a state of rafa. For example, the third question will be, how is this word showing the state of rafa? Because it's mu'rab. Mu'rab means it responds. How does it respond? By showing the sign at the end of it. Right? How is it showing that state of i'rab? Right? How does it show the state of i'rab? Meaning, is it now in the case of Muhammadun here? How is Muhammadun? The first thing we'll say, Muhammad is mu'rab word, صح? Mu'rab. And what state is it in? It's in a state of rafa. Right? And how does that word show the state of i'rab? Through the dhamma that it has at the end of it. Right? And then once you've determined how that word shows the state of i'rab, remember we said that sometimes for certain words that dhamma can be unpronounceable. Right? So is it hidden? If yes, why? Meaning, if the dhamma, like the example of al-fata, remember this example here? Ja al-fata. Is al-fata showing the dhamma of the dhamma caused by ja? It's not, but it's there. Right? It's not showing it. In your analysis, you have to say, why is it not showing? In this our case, we say because of the impossibility, because of ta'addur, because alif cannot take any haraka. So you have to mention this in your analysis. Right? So this is the four steps of the four steps you follow when the word is mu'arab, when the word is mu'arab, responsive. Right? When we study mabni, which is very close, inshallah, I will tell you how these four steps will slightly change. So now, if we were to do grammatical analysis, if we were to do i'rab, if we were to do i'rab, in which case, what do we call it in English? So, can I see that? I spelled it correctly. Grammatical analysis, right? So i'rab, basically, if you are the one speaking, i'rab for you is saying things how they should be said after working everything in your head. If you are going through somebody else's speech, right, and trying to determine what they mean, and hence you want to determine what's the state of i'rab of every word that he said, then you will be doing i'rab for his work. Right? So in our study now, we will have sentences like these sentences, and we will do i'rab for each word. Ja'a will have an i'rab. Muhammad will have an i'rab. Ja'a will have grammatical analysis. So I will tell you, can you do the i'rab for ja'a? This means I'm not asking you to pronounce it. This will come. You will get to a point where you will be able to pronounce things and make that judgment in your head. But until then, we will keep on taking text and analyzing it, grammatically analyze it. So you keep doing this enough times, like the example of book. You do this enough times, after some time, it will become spontaneous. It will become effortless for you. You will do it automatically. without actually going through the steps. But until then, you have to be patient and you have to practice this grammatical analysis, this i'rab, enough times. Right? So, for example, you don't have to worry about this one for now. In my i'rab for Muhammad, I will say Muhammad فاعل مرفوع وعلامة رفعه الضمة الظاهرة على آخره. I will take you through this, inshallah. Oh, that reminded me. Here, sorry, number 3, the عامل. The عامل. You have to mention the عامل. What caused it to be like this? The عامل. So these 4 things, you have to figure them out. Is it 4? No, 5. So when you look at a word, you have to ask yourself, is it responsive or not responsive? If responsive, what state of i'rab is it? Because every responsive word will have a state of i'rab, right? If it has a state of i'rab, what caused it to have that state of i'rab? Meaning, what is the عامل? Yeah? And then you will have to say, how does it show the state of i'rab? Is it hidden or is it pronounced? Is it ظاهر or مقدر? If it's hidden, you have to say, why is it hidden? Why is it implicit? Why is it unpronounceable? Is that okay? So now we covered what? The states of i'rab. Anything unclear so far? Obviously, this is not going to be the first time I go through this. I will repeat this over and over time. But at this point, is this much is clear? Huh? Yeah. Salman?
Can we go up to
Yes, this here. Sorry, I'm writing things in different places. This is the one. These are the different states of i'rab. حالة الرفع مرفوع, and that's for اسم and فعل مضارع. حالة النصب, any word that is in that set, يكون منصوب, is for the اسم and فعل مضارع. حالة الجر مجرور, for اسم alone. And حالة الجزم is a state that is exclusive to فعل مضارع. All right, I'll progress now. Yes. So he says, وتغيير أحوال أواخر الكلمة, the change of the state of the end of words, is basically تحولها, the changing of it, من الرفع إلى النصب إلى الجر. The fact that a word can change from رفع into nasb, into jar, or not. Right? And if it changes, is it حقيقة? Is it literally changing? حقيقة. Remember, التحقيق, we covered this word not too long ago, means literally. Is it actually changing in a soundable way? Or حكما, meaning we will give it the ruling as if it has changed. We will assume it changed, but it's not actually sounded. Clear so far? I'm relying on you to stop me if anything is confusing. ويكون هذا التحول بسبب تغيير العوامل. And this change has to be resulting from the change of عوامل. And that's why in your grammatical analysis, one of the steps has to be recognizing the عامل and identifying what عامل exactly set this word into this state of إعراب. Is that clear? طيب. من عامل يقتضي الرفع على الفاعلية أو نحوها إلى آخر يقتضي النصب على المفعولية ونحوها. طيب, this is not a problem. He says مثلا, for example, like the example I gave you, حضر محمد. He's going to give you example to demonstrate this. محمد, he says, محمد مرفوع محمد, the word Muhammad in the example, حضر محمد, مرفوع in a state of رفع. Why is that? قال لأنه معمول, meaning it's influenced by, لعامل, by a عامل, an influencer, that يقتضي الرفع, that results in رفع, that causes رفع. على الفاعلية, I'll talk about that one in a minute إن شاء الله. وهو, what is the عامل? The عامل here is حضر. So this word here, حضر, is the عامل, the influencer, the factor that changed Muhammad into the state of رفع. That led to Muhammad being in a state of رفع. The same thing, he's giving you the same رأيت محمدا, and you can see these three examples are repeated. رأيت محمدا, the state of Muhammad changed. محمدا. It was Muhammadun in this example when the influencer was حضر. In this example, when the influencer was رأيت, changed into Muhammadan. Why in one example Muhammadun here, and in another example here Muhammadan, due to the change of awamil? That's i'rab basically. So i'rab basically seeing what state is one word in and what caused that, if there's any cause at all. طيب. فإذا قلت حظيت بمحمد تغير حال آخره. So now he gave you another example, بمحمد, where there's حرف جر. I preferred على because على is a word that is separate, whereas ba here is attached to it. So for demonstration purposes, it's easier to see على being a عامل than you would see with ba. But both of them are عامل, because now here when you look at B, is another word. That's another word altogether. Right? All right. So he says, in conclusion, he says, if you reflect in these examples, it will become clear to you that the end of word, which is the dal, the letter dal from the word Muhammad, the word itself did not change. The dal itself did not change. What changed is the state of it. Right? So in one case it was marfu', in another case it was mansub, and then in one case it was majroor. So now he's saying that الفعل المضارع also will be on one of those states. فعل المضارع will have three states, and he's going to talk about the three possible states of فعل المضارع. Now let me take you here. We are going to study this, and we're going to create templates with which we can assess the state of أفعال. So whenever we study an ism, this will be our template. Let me show you this template. What is it? Sorry. Sorry about that. So this template here. When we study ism, our template will always be this. Why? Because this is the template in which we can just put an ism and we'll see what happens. And if I want to test you, I will say to you, put this word, I will give you an ism, I will ask you to put it in a template, in our template. And then through that, I will see whether you are understanding or not. Okay? When it comes to fi'l mudari', and the reason why we chose this is because this is one type of عامل that will lead to the state of rafa. And this is one type of عامل that will lead to a state of nasb. And this is one state of عامل that will lead to a state of jar. طيب. And these are the three possible states of ism. Muhammad is an ism. So that's what we need. If we were to study any ism, then we just put them in these templates and we see how they respond. طيب. When it comes to فعل مضارع, when it comes to فعل مضارع, 5 more minutes, inshallah, and we can take a break. Huh? When it comes to فعل مضارع, the template will be as follows. محمد. طيب. And then we're gonna have a gap here. So this will be where we put our فعل مضارع. We're gonna put it here. So محمد, and then we put a فعل here. طيب. And then we're gonna say same thing. محمد, and then محمد. So we have, this is our template. طيب. محمد. So we're gonna put the فعل مضارع in here, and we realize that this is all just to demonstrate basic ideas for you. The full explanation is still to come. Right? So here there is nothing. There is like void here. I'm going to fill it with this color. Here I'm going to put len, and here I'm going to put lam. Now, why can anybody work out why did I put lam here? Len? Exactly. So these are influences. What's between the square brackets are the influences. Okay? So let's put the فعل, our فعل. Let it be, for example, يكتب, يكتب, or يكتب for now. Okay? Now let's look at this one. This is a فعل مضارع that is في حالة الرفع. في حالة النصب. في حالة what? الجزم. Are you with me? So this is an example of get this one right, inshallah. It's going to be worth your time. I know it's taking some time first. Let's see. نصبي. Right. So now we want to study فعل مضارع, صح؟ فعل مضارع. So what states of إعراب are possible for a فعل مضارع? Remember, there are 4 states of إعراب. we said two of them, the first two, are common between اسم and فعل مضارع, available to both of them, which is رفع and نصب. And then when it comes to al-jar, it's exclusive to اسم. When it comes to jazm, it's exclusive to فعل مضارع. Therefore, اسم will have three possible states of i'rab, and فعل will have three possible states of i'rab. Now, we want to examine these states of i'rab. So, the first, the state of i'rab that is caused, that causes the فعل مضارع to be مرفوع, which is indicated by this ضمة. See this ضمة here? And this فتحة, then this سكون. Do you see this ba, which is the end of the fi'l, the end of the word? How it is changed from dhamma, which is the representation of rafa', into fatha, which is represented, or the marking for nasb, and then finally sukun, which is represented by which is a representation for jazm. Is that clear? But now the question is, what led this to be marfu'? So this is في حالة الرفع. And what led this to be mansub was في حالة النصب. And what led to this being في حالة الجزم. Now, there are عامل that comes before this word, which causes it to become in a state of jazm. So one example, one typical example that's used for demonstration is lam. Not the only one, but the main one that they usually bring for the sake of explanation. But it has sisters that also cause jazm. Lan is the typical example that is brought for demonstration purposes. But lan has also sisters. But what do they do to the fi'l mudari'? They cause the fi'l mudari' to be in a state of nasb. Okay. Is that clear so far? Now watch out for this one. What is here? Nothing. The absence of amil. The absence of amil is amil. You know? So this, they call this one is a literal amil. العامل الحقيقي أو اللفظي. طيب, and this one عامل, they call it معنوي, mean abstract عامل, not pronounced, not something that's pronounced, but it is a concept. The concept of it being without a عامل, that in itself is an influencer. Right? It gives it what? It gives it the state of rafa'. So now when we speak about this word, we will have to recognize that it is marfu'. And we'll have to say what caused the rafa'. The absence of amil caused the rafa'. Huh? And this one here, what caused the nasb? Lan, or any one of his sisters, if we have any alternative one of his sisters, right? Which caused also nasb. We will say this is fi'l mudari' mansub in a state of nasb, and hence it is represented with fatha, ba, yaktuba, and it's caused by lan. ويكتب is caused by lam. So lam is jazim, عامل الجزم. And يكتب is مجزوم. The فعل مضارع مجزوم، فعل مضارع منصوب، فعل مضارع مرفوع. Does that make any sense? Right? So here we go. We have عوامل now. What you've learned in this here, in addition to the concept that was introduced to you at the beginning of the session and in the previous one, is the concept of عامل and معمول. What we added here is the عامل could be an abstract one, not a physical sounded letter, not لفظي. عامل لفظي, which means uttered. عامل that's uttered. عامل معنوي, on the other hand, is not uttered. It's a concept. The fact that there is no عامل, that in itself is عامل. So this is what you can add to your understanding of عوامل now. So when it comes to فعل So if I give you a فعل يشرب, I will tell you put يشرب in our template for فعل. Then you will be bringing this. محمد يشرب. محمد لن يشرب. محمد لم يشرب. If you pronounce it like this, or if you write it like this, if it's a written test, I know you would understand. Right? If you put dhamma where you're supposed to put sukoon or fatha, then you haven't got the concept of عامل. Now, فعل مضارع is a variety of types, about 4 or 5 types. Right? So I will give you, or you will come across a فعل مضارع, you will listen or you will hear or you will read. Depending on what type of فعل مضارع, it will show the state of إعراب with a different marking. So ضم being the basic one, the default one, but you can have a variation to that. So you can have فعل مضارع that is in a state of رفع, but the state of رفع is not marked with a ضمة. The علامة for it is not ضمة. It's something else, depending on what? Depending on 5 possible categories for فعل مضارع. We will go through them one by one. Now I'm just giving you the concept in general, and I'm teaching you this template that we will use to study all 5 of them. Right? So we have a template for فعل مضارع, which is this one here. We will put the فعل مضارع and we put it here. And we put it here. Now in this case it's يكتب, صح? Right? In this case it's يكتب. Right? If I give you a فعل مضارع, you will remove يكتب and you will put that other فعل مضارع. Right? Here you're demonstrating that there is absence of عوامل, and that in itself should make this one مرفوع. And here you're demonstrating that there is لن, one of the representative of a group of عوامل that cause نصب, which we will cover them inshallah. Right? But then you have to put the فعل here in a state of نصب. Right? And لم, عامل جزم, has its own sisters, but then it causes the فعل مضارع to become مجزوم. The default marking for جزم is سكون. The default marking for نصب is فتحة. And the default marking for رفع is ضمة. Right? So that will be in the basic form of فعل مضارع. There will be other 4 forms of فعل مضارع where we'll have different variations of markings. Right? We will cover them. But for now, what I want you to see is this template. We will be using this template again and again, just like we will use this template again and again. This template for what? This template here for ism, right? Because these examples, they cover the 3 possible states of i'rab for ism. Is that correct? Like I said to you before, ism has 10 variations, 10 categories, 10 different types. Each one of them will respond differently when we put them in this template. So as we go through these categories, we will take number 1 and we will put it here and we'll see how it responds. And this way we say, okay, now we've learned category number 1 responds like this. And then we cover this. We go to category number 2 of asma, and then we'll slam it here as well. And we'll see how it responds. And through that, we will have learned if any other word comes from that category, we will treat it the same way. Is this making sense? Right. So this is, I'm just going to put this with حالة الرفع في حالة النصب. So for our agreements, for our istilah, this class, I will be asking you I will give you a word and I'll say to you, put it in the template. Okay? Put it in the template. And then if it's ism, you will bring جاء رأيت سلمت على. If it's فعل, you will put محمد جاب the فعل, محمد لن, and then the فعل, and محمد لم, and then the فعل مضارع. sorry, الجر. الجر. بارك الله فيك. طيب so هذه في حالتي. So now we haven't actually learned how to do the Arab. We just agreed on our terminology in this class في حالة النصب. في house. Does this make sense? طيب. Now, let me say it one more time. How many categories of possible asma that are responsive we can have to put here? 10. Right? And we also have the same number of non-responsive asma. So in our study of ism, we will just go through them one by one, and we put them in the right type of template. This template is for responsive ones. Right? And also it's good, we will put there also something that is not responsive, and we will see that, oh, it didn't respond. And that's how we catch that this is a non-responsive one. Right? If it's responsive, we say, oh, this responded. It changed in some way. So it is mu'rab. Oh, that other one did not change. Or therefore it's mabni. So this is going to be our template for studying the 10 categories of asma that is responsive or mu'raba, and also to study the non-responsive ones, the asma that are mabniya. Right? We will use this template for them. Now, when it comes to fi'l mudari', I told you, how many categories do we have of them? 5. The very basic one responds like this. Takes dhamma for rafa', takes fatha for nasb, and takes sukoon for jazm. And we have 4 other ones to consider. And every time we put them in this template, they will respond differently. Right? And we also have 2 possible states of fi'l mudari' that is non-responsive. We will also put them here, and we will demonstrate that they did not respond. They still same. So these are going to serve us very well in our study of al-asma and al-fi'l al-mudari'. Is this clear? No. Any complications? طيب. We're going to break for salat, inshallah. When we come back, I would like to speak to you about, reminding you of that. Actually, I'll take a note here. The general categorization of words. So far, this is something I'm sure this is your first time exposure of it. You've learned a lot of technical words. Right? It's understandable that you're not going to capture them all from one session. So you need to practice them. So you see me sometimes speaking in English, and sometimes I'll bring the Arabic word. I want you to practice using the Arabic word, because 1 or 2 more classes from now, I will not be bringing the English counterpart. I will just use the Arabic one, the technical word. So I will expect you also to do the same thing. So in your work at home, try to use the word jazm, majzoom, mu'rab, mabni, عامل, معمول, so on and so forth. Right? جزاكم الله خير. بارك الله فيكم. Stop here, and we will continue after Salah, inshallah, for about 20 minutes, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.